Hey guys, welcome to BMW Vlog and welcome to South Carolina. Today we're actually outside of the BMW plant in Spartanburg, and the reason for that, it's this car, the new BMW X7 facelift. So you've seen plenty of photos and videos by now, but today I'll have a chance to actually drive the car. But before I do that, let's talk about the design, some of the specs. Then we're gonna hop inside and take a look at some of the features that are new in the BMW X7 facelift. Design-wise, as you can see instantly right here, brand new front fascia, and it starts with the split headlights. A first on the BMW, of course, similar to the new BMW 7 Series. Daytime running lights split from the regular lights, LED all around, and it's got a totally different look, especially because it kind of breaks down the massiveness of the X7 at the front, and that's also helped by these air breathers painted in all black. They create a nice contrast with the paint, and of course they're functional, so it's not just an aesthetic thing but also functional. Moving on, as you can see, the entire M Sport package has been redesigned. It's actually called M Sport Pro right now, and it comes with some really massive and aggressive air intakes. You can see them on the bottom, and once again they are painted in black because they want to create this contrast with the rest of the car. Kidney grille, same size, despite what you might see in the video and photos where it looks a little bit smaller. It's actually the same width, same height, but because the designer have changed a little bit of the angle on the hood, it just makes them a little bit smaller. But overall, no changes there, and they do come with a really nice matte surrounds in black. Typical to BMW, you're getting the M slats right here, typical to M performance cars. They're also painted in matte black, so that's a nice feature right there inside. Of course, large air openings to cool that engine. And speaking of the engine, as you can see in the B-roll footage, this is a brand new engine for the BMW X7 M60i. It's called BMW S68. It's a 4.4 liter V8 based on the previous S63, but with all new internal mechanics and a lot of hardware changes. So output 530 horsepower, about 750 newton meters of torque, and that's enough to take this car from 0 to 60 miles per hour in about 4.5 seconds, and that's quite impressive, especially for a car of this size. What's also quite cool, it's the first time the BMW is using an M engine in a non-full M car. So as you know, the M performance cars, they're also called M Light BMWs. But this one comes with an M built and M designed engine, and I expect it to drive quite well. Now, if we move to the side, this one comes with 22 inches, but for the first time, the BMW X7, it's available with 23 inches in size. As I said here, 22 inches on this one. You're also getting a slightly different side view on the bottom here, so it's been a little bit redesigned, part of the M Sport package. And of course, you can see the shapes on the car thanks to this beautiful frozen Marina Bay blue. Other than that, no changes really to the side. It's your typical BMW X7, plenty of space, and we're gonna hop inside to see that as well. Now, if we move to the back a little bit, here's where it gets a little bit more interesting because there are a few design changes, and that starts with this chrome bar. As you can see right here, it's actually embedded inside the taillight. So instead of sitting on top of the taillight, it's actually part of the entire package right there. Very unique feature, not something they usually see on a BMW, and apparently they've spent quite some time trying to make sure that they nail this feature down. Of course, L-shaped taillights, typical to BMWs, no changes there. You do have a couple of functional pipes on both sides, so those are actually functional, they're not just there for form. Slightly redesigned rear diffuser, but once again, not a major change. And then of course you are getting this beautiful M60i badge on the boot. Once again, this is the first time BMW is using the M60i designation. So once again, this is the exterior design of the BMW X7, but with this car, it's all about the interior because it's a car made for families. You can have 6 or 7 people inside the car. And of course, it comes with a brand new design. With that being said, let's hop inside and take a look. All right, so inside the new BMW X7 facelift, and once again, you will notice a lot of changes here, and that starts with this very large, actually 2 pieces of LCD screen. You have a 12.3 and a 14.9 inch screens connected together to create this beautiful curved display. It's pretty much the same display you've seen in the BMW iX, the new 7 Series, i7, and so on and so forth. Clearly, it is powered by BMW iDrive 8, and you can see that immediately as you fire up the screen. Nice tiles display, a lot of configurations available. And of course, because it loses the physical buttons right here, now you have to control all the climate controls through the screen. It's something that a lot of people don't really love it. I'm not a fan of that yet. I'm trying to get used to it, and I definitely miss the physical buttons on the top here. Speaking of the center console, as you can see, has been simplified quite a bit, and that's mostly because of the gear shifter right here. You're losing that massive one that you had in the previous model, and now you're getting this little knob here that's also available in some of the newer BMWs. The idea here is really to just simplify this entire area and have easier access to different items, especially inside here. So typical display there, you got a few USB ports in there, of course, cooling and heating of your beverages, so that hasn't changed much. Carbon fiber trim. Of course, that's always a plus in a BMW M car. Also, for the first time, they are offering a trim that's a vegan trim, and that's available as an option as well. This one comes with full merino leather in all black. Looks fantastic. The other major upgrades inside this car, it's really this light bar. So it's really hard to see during the day, but we'll try to get some B-roll to show it at night. But basically, it lights up to perform different functions. So for example, if you switch to Sport Plus, this one becomes all red. If you go into Comfort, it's all blue. It also does a few other interesting things, like for example, if you get a phone call inside the car, it will light up in a different way to announce that call. And of course, it also serves as an ambient light, so you can change the colors from the iDrive menu as well. So very unique feature. It's a first in the BMW X lineup, and we have to see if that's going to end up in the BMW X5 facelift as well. As you can see, nice beefy steering wheel. It's got the inner stitching, M stitching in there, and it's the typical M Sport steering that you see in M performance car or M cars as well. One other thing to point out actually in the front, they're actually those really solid and integrated air vents. So if you look from far away, you might not be able to see them, but they're actually part of the dashboard right now. So really nice integration there for the air vents. Very slick, very minimalistic. So that's a really nice touch that they've done with the design on that. So these are pretty much the major changes that took place inside the BMW X7. But of course, when it comes to this car, it's also all about interior and cargo space. I am 6 feet 2 inches tall, 1.9 meters. And as you can see, this is my normal driving position, quite a lot of space. And with that being said, I'm gonna hop right behind me to see how much knee and room space you will have basically. So let's take a look. All right, so here's the second row position in the BMW X7. As you can see here, instead of a bench, you have 2 captain chairs. So this particular configuration can sit up to 6 people. So as I've said, 6 feet 2 inches tall, 1.9 meters tall. Not on the short side, so clearly you can see here I have a lot of space, knee room space, also a lot of headroom space, and sideways as well. So the same BMW X7 typical layout with a lot of room for a lot of people. You can see right here on the right side of me, once again, the front seat is pushed all the way back, actually almost all the way back, and there is still a lot of room for a passenger right here. Typical to BMW X cars, you are getting your own climate controls right here, no changes there, and of course you are getting USB-C ports, which are much needed, especially if you have people traveling with you and they would like to charge their devices, or you have kids with tablets. Cup holders, of course you will need that once again for longer trips, quite useful. So that's really the second row of the BMW X7, but now I'm gonna try one more thing. I'm gonna hop behind me right here in this little bench to see how much room I have if I need to sit there for longer trips. So let's take a look. All right, so as I said, I am in the third row of the BMW X7. So let's put the seat back here and see how much room I have now. So you can see automated movement here. I just pull this lever down and the seat will readjust itself. Now it goes back. All right, so it's getting a little tight in here, right? I mean, it's not ideal. I am hitting the back seat with my knees clearly, but once again, I'm quite tall. So with that being said, just like the previous BMW X7, the third row seat, it's really meant for either people that are a little bit shorter than I am, or especially for kids. And if you want to go on road trips, I definitely recommend having someone that's shorter or kids sitting in the rear seat. Of course, if you drive throughout the city and you're going for shorter runs, it's still quite okay to ride in here, so I don't feel too cramped. I still have plenty of headroom, really nice side armrest right here, and I'm assuming if there is nobody right next to me, I can really lean back a little bit more, have more space, and even put my knees in between the seats. But overall, once again, typical BMW X7 space. We have to see what it looks like when you get the bench here, but I'm assuming the knee space should be quite similar. And speaking of space, because we have this layout here with the third row on, then basically the cargo space takes a hit. So in the next clip, we're gonna go in the back, open the trunk to see how much space we have in there. So naturally, when you talk about the BMW X7 cargo space, it's quite important. So let's take a look at that. It's your typical layout where you can actually open this to load up things easier. And as you can see right now, I got a backpack here and a few other equipment and water and all of that. And basically the third row is positioned up right now, and you are getting about 12.8 cubic feet of space. Naturally, with the X7, you have to put down the third row in order to get additional cargo space. And that's something that's always recommended if you do need to store a lot more things in there. And you can use that to lower the third row and create more cargo space in the car. So let's close it up. And now it's time to go behind the wheel and actually drive this BMW X7 M60i. So let's hop inside and take a look at that. All right, guys, so now it's time to drive the new BMW X7 M60i. Once again, this is the first time that BMW is doing an M60i model, and that's because it uses a brand new engine. As I mentioned earlier, this is the BMW S68 brand new engine made by the BMW M. It's still a 4.4 liter V8 based on the S63 engine that we've seen before, but it does come with new hardware, so it's been changed quite a bit, and therefore it makes more horsepower, and it's got a different character and even a little bit of a different sound. So the BMW X7, it's really much more than just a design and engine upgrade. The engineers told me that they also done quite a little bit of work on the suspension, and mostly because this car, it's a little bit heavier than the BMW X7 M50i. So the addition of the new S68 V8 adds a little bit more weight to the overall car. So because of that, they had to adjust the suspension setup quite a bit. It is still running standard on a 2-axle air suspension, and this particular model also comes with a dynamic handling package, so it adds a lot more sportiness to the overall driving feel of the X7. But at the same time, the engineers had to play around with the toe camber a little bit, and also with the softer tune-up of the suspension. So they wanted to create a different rebound feel when it comes to the driving experience. The result, it's still the same plush BMW X7 ride when you go into the comfort mode, but once you switch over to the Sport or Sport Plus, you are getting that dynamic drive that you're used to from an X7, especially with this power. But of course, the X7, it's always going to be more about comfort than sportiness. Sure, you can take this 530 horsepower and really have a lot of fun with it, but most of the time the X7 is just being driven as a normal family car. And that's exactly the DNA of the X7. That's exactly what the X7 has always stood for. Of course, part of the X7 package, you're also getting the rear steering, and that not only helps inside city traffic to maneuver the car quite easy, but it also helps at higher speeds. So I had a chance earlier today to drive on some of the curvy roads along Spartanburg, and I pushed the car quite a bit. And not only the adaptive dampers played an important role on keeping the car stable on the road, but the rear steering and the limited slip differential also helps quite a bit. And even though it allows a little bit of a spin in the back, it's always going to be in control of the car and keeping you planted on the road. Also, thanks to the active roll bar stabilizers, the car doesn't seem to get as much body roll as the previous X7. Of course, I will have to drive them back to back and kind of have a fair comparison, but based on what I recall from driving the X7 M60i a couple of years back, this one, even at higher speeds, the body roll was kept in check. Granted, I was running in the Sport Plus mode, which is always the preferred mode if you want to have some fun with the BMW X7. Now let's talk about the steering a little bit, because this is where the X7 differentiates itself quite a bit from the X5. So the X5 will always be the more sporty, the more aggressive driving BMW X car. It is meant to be more of a sports activity crossover than the luxury X7 car. And what do I mean by that? Well, the steering, it's a little bit more direct in the X7, but at the same time, it is lighter than what you will see in the X5. And that's not a bad thing, because in a car of this size, you want to have a steering that's a little bit lighter, because that gives you the confidence that you can maneuver a car of this size in any driving situations, being on the road, on open roads, or being inside a city center with stop and go traffic, or especially when you need to perform any parking maneuvers. So the fact that you're getting a lighter steering in this one than the X5, it's actually a plus for the X7. Also, the dynamic handling package comes standard in the BMW X7, so it helps quite a bit with cornering. It also gives you a lot of confidence behind the wheel, so you feel like you're constantly in control of the car, even if when you're traveling at really high speeds with a car of this size. In a nutshell, honestly, going fast on some of those curvy back roads, the BMW X7 M60i feels a lot smaller than its size. And when you switch to the Sport and Sport Plus, the suspension lowers by about 20 millimeters. So you sit fairly low to the ground when driving, and that gives you even more sportiness in your driving behavior. Of course, like all the luxury SUVs, the BMW X7 excels when it comes to noise reduction. So even driving on imperfect roads and not the smoothest pavement possible, the road noise is quite limited inside the car. So you feel like you're isolated from the exterior, you can have conversations without having to shout inside the car, and it just kind of separates you from the outside world. And that's always a plus, especially when traveling with people or with kids. It's great to have a very quiet and very isolated cabin. There is not a lot of road noise as well. Even though I'm riding on 22-inch tires, I will have to jump on 23s to see if that makes a huge difference. Now, of course, when it comes to the BMW X68 V8, you are getting that nice kickback, especially as you floor the car and you're going fast. And it truly feels like this is a pure BMW. And you don't often say that about cars of this size. When it comes to braking, you're getting the same great brake feel that you're used to getting from an M Sport brake system in a BMW. So the stopping power, it's great, and I've had a chance to really test that. There were a couple of tight corners where I had to downshift quickly and brake, and honestly, the car stopped with no problems. Quality inside the car, exactly what you'd expect from a BMW of this price point. So you are getting the full merino leather if you want to. As I mentioned earlier, there is a vegan option as well for the trim. Of course, the seats are always what you expect from a BMW, with really nice side support. You sit quite low in them, and that gives you a really nice driving position as well. So quality-wise, I feel like the interior, it's a step up from the pre-facelift model, and I actually truly enjoy this large curved display. It seems to fit the luxury character of the BMW X7 a lot better. Of course, I would love to have the physical buttons inside the car. That's something that I truly miss, and I did find myself quite a few times today reaching for the AC buttons to adjust the controls, but unfortunately now you have to operate them through the iDrive system, and it's not always very convenient because it's more of a two-step process than the single click that you were used to before. Now, when it comes to the shifter, I've said it before in other reviews, because we've seen this one in the new 3 Series. A lot of people were used to kind of shifting their own gears in automatic by using the lever. Unfortunately, that's not an option anymore. So right now, you have to change the gears through the shift paddles. So, as I said, nice kickback from that engine. You can hear the sound. It is quite fast. Of course, you are getting some active sound inside the car, a little bit of a fake sound. But even if you're outside the car, you're going to be able to hear that great V8 engine. And of course, in sport mode, it's even sportier. Very smooth shifting as you're used to with the 8-speed from ZF. When it comes to this particular X7, either the regular BMW X7 xDrive 40i or this one, the M60i, the overall upgrades are quite significant. And as I've said, it started with the exterior design, then of course with the addition of a brand new M engine, a first in a production series BMW. And then, of course, inside the car as well, you are getting a completely new dashboard layout right here, thanks to the large curved display. You are getting an interaction bar, and of course, a redesigned center console as well. So this BMW X7 feels to me more like a brand new car than just a minor improvement over the pre-facelifted model. So let me know in the comments below, which one is your favorite feature on the new BMW X7? Is it the exterior design, the split headlights? Is it the engine? Or maybe the interior design with the new iDrive 8? So once again, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing to our channel. Please make sure to hit that like button, the notification bell to be notified of new videos as we post. We have quite a few every week. And as always, thank you for your support, and I'll see you in the next one.